Mr. Fox Miller. Today I wanted to talk to you directly in sort of an open letter sort of format. This is kind of a new thing for this channel, so forgive the kind of informality, but I wanted to talk to you personally about the issues that occurred surrounding your organizations which led up to the closure of Rocky Mountain Fur Con. The reason I wanted to talk to you in this way is because I think that the lessons here are important enough for people, even other than yourself, to learn from it and understand what happened here as far as certain things go, but also to kind of talk about certain things and certain things you talked about to the Rolling Stone. For those of you who haven't read the Rolling Stone article, I would suggest reading it, but you, Mr. Fox Miller, obviously would know what you said to the Rolling Stone, but I will use that article as a heavy reference here for the things I'm about to discuss. So the first thing you'll probably notice is that I'm calling you by the name Mr. Fox Miller. The reason I'm doing that is because the other persona name that you've chosen for yourself has obvious implications and ties to certain things that are not very favorable or seen as very is seen as having ties with Adolf Hitler. And that, I think, is the essence of the problem here. You can say all you want that your organization is tied to promoting equality and tolerance and helping one another and promoting people in their struggles in order to get through life and feel that life has treated them fairly. The issue here is that the symbol in which you have chosen for your organization sort of conflicts with that. So today I'm going to discuss with you how you get out. Or, in essence, if you choose to get out, here is how you get out and why you should probably, quote-unquote, get out. I'm not saying disband the Furry Raiders. What I'm saying is rebirth them under a new symbol. And why I say this, and this is the reason. Symbols are very powerful to human beings. Symbology is extremely potent. Any artist can tell you the power of symbols and colors and their combinations and how they affect people psychologically. And in essence, I've even went over as this sort of in a kind of a video, kind of as a tongue-in-cheek kind of a thing, but it's also kind of true. Human beings are animals. We are animal creatures. We are animals. We have a high cognitive function capacity, but we're animals nonetheless. And like other animals, we have ways of marking territory. We have ways of marking ideological territory. We have ways of doing that. But we don't do it in the other ways that animals do it. And other animals usually typically use sense, use sense or very, very primitive sort of like scratches or something like that. They use things like that to mark their territory. Human beings don't have a great sense of smell. Our sense of smell isn't as acute as other animals. So dogs like that have an acute sense of smell. We as human beings do not. But what we do have as human beings is visual. Like our ability to perceive colors and visuals and sort of like shapes and stuff like that is extremely acute. And so that is why when we create symbols, when we create symbological viewpoints and we create symbols, it has a higher impact than that can even override anything we say or anything we do. If the symbol that we're doing it under doesn't mesh with somebody's agreement or disagreement with the symbol, it could overwrite any other action that you commit to. Which is why symbols are a very powerful tool in a sense where it tries to make people feel comfortable or uncomfortable. Those are that powerful. We've made symbols out of crosses, stars, moons, stars and stripes, symbols of all stripes. We have and country flags, religious symbols, those kind of things. So when your organization claims to do one thing, but your symbol says another thing, then the question of the formula is this. Does your organization do such good works out in the real world that it can override even the weird little things in the symbol that people see? And the answer to that question, in the case of the Furry Raiders, is simply flat out no. There is not much you can do. The Nazi symbol is extremely powerful. It causes extreme emotion. There is no furry on this earth. There is no politician, professional or otherwise, on this earth today that could do any act under that banner that would make it seem okay, or anything that looks like that banner, that uses kind of the same color schemes and stuff like that. Your furry paw in the middle of a white circle is not the same. Okay, it's not the same exact symbol as the Nazi symbol. It has distinct similarities that causes people to think about that. And that's how powerful that symbol actually even is that even if something looks similar to that symbol, it makes people believe that there's something more there. So you went to the Rolling Stone and you discussed your history, which I believe some of your history. But it's hard for me to believe the other thing, because that's how powerful this symbol is. It is hard for me to believe the other stuff because that symbol is there and you haven't distanced yourself from it. So when you go, well, I was in Second Life and I'm not very well in history, I'm more into computers. I just taught myself computers, didn't really go to high school. That's very possible. That is computers are such an important part of society these days that you can subvert the rest of your education as far as history and other things go, that you can learn about computers and nothing else. Which, by the way, if you do that, then that's why, and I think people who do that is the reason why the world is going the way it is. I'm a computer scientist. I went as a computer scientist myself to college. I think a lot of people in computers these days are so ignorant of the human element and just how human beings function and do things, that they create programs that make absolutely no cognitive sense to a human being, yet a human being has to adapt to whatever the programmer felt was important. And I think that it makes people feel out of touch. It makes the people feel like they're just little ants on a log in the middle of a torrenting river of changes in software and patches and all this nonsense. But that's a whole other freaking can of worms. What I'm talking about here is that, what was I talking about now? Ugh. This is why you have to forgive me. I go on tangents that have nothing to do with the topic at hand, but then I try and wrap it back around, and I kind of failed this time. The issue here is that even though you were ignorant of the symbol, when you acquired it in Second Life and started tying it to your organization, that's probably what happens. Like, man, I want to, like you said, okay, as an organization in the Second Life, you wanted to call yourself Furry Raiders. Okay. And you're like, well, we want to promote increasing the amount of furries on Second Life. And we want to do it by, putting on these armbands or whatnot. Okay. Or, well, not armbands, but armbands, you didn't even know what the armbands were for, but you saw the armband and you were like, oh, that looks kind of cool. We'll take that as a symbol. So you adopted it. Okay. You adopted that symbol. At the same time, you were, giving furries free stuff on Second Life. So when it comes down to you, finding your way to Colorado's furry convention, which is probably the local one to you, and trying to enact the same sort of philosophies into whatever you were doing there, the issue here is that on Second Life, stuff is an infinite resource. You can create as many weird little avatars and things as you want. There's no limitations to things like that. I think your misunderstanding here is that there are limitations in the real world. When you take something that is a limited resource and then give it out to other people, you are preventing people who can afford that resource, who don't want to go through you to get it, from getting it. Could you imagine if say ears on Second Life, if there was only 20 of these in existence and you acquired all 20 of them, and then you said, well, new people who come to us and ask for them could get these cool little ears, and then people are going to be like, if people are going to think, oh, what's the catch? You know what I mean? That kind of a thing. But I think this is a lesson that you learned, and this is why your group became infamous. This is why people paid attention to your group, is because you took a limited resource and distributed it out to people, probably without even realizing the actual real-world implications of taking a finite resource and then distributing it, as opposed to in Second Life when you were performing that practice and that resources were infinite. So let's cut to the chase. And this is why it's hard for me to believe that your organization is anything other than a neo-Nazi organization, and it's hard for other people to believe that. The reason it's hard for people like me to believe that is because you go, in the same article from Rolling Stone, you go, I have no idea what Nazis are. I have not a clue. I hear no evil. I hear no evil. I see no evil. I speak no evil. I have no idea what these Nazi things are. That was your claim. But then in the very same article, you were quoted as using the phrase National Socialists. Let me give you a hint. If you're talking to someone who's very ignorant in history, you could talk to the most blundering idiot who doesn't know anything about world history, and they'll be able to tell you what a Nazi is. I go to you, what's a Nazi? And it's like, oh, those are those guys in Germany that were fighting in World War II and were, and caused the Holocaust and stuff like that. Anyone out there with a basic education can tell you that. Okay, so let's say, but maybe you didn't get that basic education. But there's a problem with saying you didn't even get that basic education. When you are using the term National Socialists, quote, unquote, when you're saying National Socialists, that's a more nuanced phrase. Nazi is a shorthand term for National Socialist. Only people who are a little, maybe above average, they're educated, okay? Somebody who uses that phrase is educated, at least in basic history of World War II. All right? Because I could tell you, if I talk to a random assortment of people out there, I'm sure a higher percentage of people would be able to tell me what a Nazi is and a National Socialist. Because not many people can make that connection between the two things, unless you're a historian or that you at least remember what Nazi was short for from your high school days. But if you do know those two things, then you should know what their symbol looks like. You know what I mean? And you should know how that affects things. So to me, it's like you can say, oh, I'm distancing myself from it, and all these squares don't make a circle. But there's the problem, is that your own words indicate you're more educated on this than your words are indicating. This is the problem what happens when you do an expose with people. Things come out, things you don't realize come out, and there's a problem here. So here's my ultimatum for you. If your organization really is not tied with these kind of things, and you don't want your organization associated with these kind of a thing, then get rid of the symbol. The tail should not be wagging the dog. And I say that what my meaning on saying that is this. Individuals should dictate their own lives. Period. If you believe in sovereignty, that's how it should be. But when you put yourself under a symbol, you allow the symbol to dictate your behaviors for you. Right? Sovereign citizens. So if you're under a banner, that means you're going to behave as the banner wants you to behave. You feel like, and maybe you don't even think it's a Nazi symbol. Maybe he's like, this is the symbol my Furry Raiders group adopted, and I want to keep that symbol. I want to keep it so bad because I'm now feeling personally tied to that symbol. It's a part of who I am. Never, 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 ever, ever. This is the essence of the problem. This is how the Nazis came to be. This is the essence of the problem. We allow ourselves to see a banner and we allow ourselves to become subservient to the symbology instead of allowing ourselves to be free to create our own symbols, to create our own meaning in life. We allow some banner to do it for us. Do not allow yourself to be wagged by your tail. Wag your tail. And how you do that? I would say go all out. You can change your symbol first, okay? Create a new symbol. Create a new Symbol doesn't have to be complicated. Make it a diamond instead of a circle. Make the paw dark blue instead of black. Change, allow the different colors, which you've already been starting to commit yourself to, and proving, hey, look, well, there's different colors. You can choose between those things. But get rid of the dark maroon. And heck, even if you don't get rid of the dark maroon, maybe changing it to the diamond with a blue paw in the middle would be enough. And then, when you have that new symbol, burn the old one. Free yourself from it. Allow it to be drowned. Allow yourself to be washed in the river, and kind of be reborn. And heck, make the symbol about some sort of rebirth. Put some symbology in there that kind of shows that this is a new Furry Raiders. If you can't really come up with some original symbols on your own, you're in a community of artists, my friend. You've come to the right place. We can teach you all about symbology and how it works, and kind of how to make a cool little logo for your organization if your organization has nothing to do with neo-Nazis. And point number 2, and this is why I've been calling you Fox Miller this whole time, allow your persona name to be Fox Miller. If literally the point of your tying your persona name, as you claim, is to be Fox and Miller, a combination of Fox and Miller, why is your name not Fox Miller? Why did you go Foxler? That makes absolutely no sense. Having your name be Foxler allows you to be tied with the elements in which you apparently do not want to associate with, or are currently stating that you don't want to be associated with. So why allow your persona name, which is supposed to be Fox and Miller, associate you with something that you apparently don't want to be associated with? Why allow the tail to wag the dog? Don't allow it. Call yourself Fox Miller. And that's who I will be referring to you as personally, until I come to the idea that maybe you don't care if you're tied with neo-Nazism, and that you continue down this road. Which, if you are presented with this and you continue down that road, then that is your prerogative. The consequences in which occur is on your head. Because I've shown you, it's like you feel like you're backed into a corner, there's a way out of it. It's up for you to decide whether or not you want to go that route, though. So I guess at the end of the day, Mr. Fox Miller, is what I'm saying is this. If you really believe in your organization and that it's supposed to create a better fandom of equality and trying to help people, feel like this is a fairer and juster world, but don't allow your organization to be tied with elements that are so heinous and so despicable that even your existence had indirectly caused, almost directly, but somewhat indirectly, caused a furry community to collapse in on itself for a bit. You might have not have been the direct catalyst, but your inaction about your symbolism and people's interpretation of that symbolism created the situation in which a furry community was upended. Just to people who want to create opportunity and create places for people to grow and become better, is your organization more important than Rocky Mountain Fur Con? Is your organization more important than the furry than that? Is it more important than that organization? Because that organization was doing similar stuff. They were allowing people who are different, who are crazy, who are a little bit eccentric, to come together into one place and to enjoy themselves for a weekend. And now they have lost that. And sure, maybe it wasn't you that quote-unquote threw the first punch. Maybe it was somebody who's thinking that you were a part of a Nazi organization who threw the first punch, and they were just wrong. They were not. And through their ignorance, they're the ones that caused it because they were ignorant. We're not really neo-Nazis. They thought we were neo-Nazis, and so they're the ones that threw the first punch. It's their fault that it was closed, not my fault. Hashtag not my fault. But guess what, sir? If you believe other people, if other people are ignorant and are saying, this is why I believe this symbol that you're using is why I believe this, and you do nothing to change that symbol when presented with the thing. It's like, well, this looks like the Nazi symbol. It's like, well, it's not supposed to be the Nazi symbol. Okay, then change the symbol. Okay, well, we'll allow different colors, but we won't get rid of the original problem child. I'll still call myself Foxler instead of calling myself Fox Miller. Or Millox. How about that? Go the other way. Miller and then Fox. So Millox. Millox. Hey, Millox, how you doing? See how simple that is? It's not hard. It's the problem is that we, as I said, we get tied with our little culture wars, with our little arguments, and we allow the tail to wag the dog. That's the foundational problem of why conflicts exist. And until we address that, and until people take the actions in which promote real peace, and by doing actions that promote peace, we're just going to be following the same tragic route that every organization and every group has found themselves in since the dawn of man. And that's all I have to say about that. And I hope that you hear this, Mr. Fox Miller, and that you come to the correct conclusion. I look forward to any response you may have, and I wish you well, and get in the hop out of here. Thank you very much for watching.